it's interesting hearing you, someone who's been in the inside, describe what it was like to receive that feedback and get some insight into how design was led at Apple. And it seems to me that at least it runs counter to a lot of the commonly accepted wisdom in the field of design at the moment, where, you sort of find great design not within designers, but within the users in which you put your work in front of, and you have those cycles of feedback and learning with customers. It doesn't seem to me that there was a very strong emphasis at Apple, at least not at that time, to work in that way. What was your experience, if any, in involving people outside of Apple in providing feedback on the design work that you and your teams were working on?
Well, Apple was and is a unique environment because so much of the promotional strategy and the marketing strategy is around secrets. And so almost by design, you couldn't really talk to people outside the company because it would destroy the secret, which pulled down from the excitement around the launch. So, you have to kind of start with that PR strategy. And then the reason it could work at Apple is because the people inside the company were actually users of those products as well. So, the products that the company was making, whether it's the OS or the hardware or photos or numbers or Keynote or whatever, the people making them were bona fide, useful, meaningful users of those products. So they had sophisticated and thoughtful opinions about those products. Now, if you're creating something where you're not going to be a user, it's a completely different ballgame. And I experienced that at Apple as well when I worked in the retail team. So I worked in the corporate side of retail, designing some of the software that they would have used in the stores. What was amazing about that experience was that I had a ready-made place to go do ethnography because I could just go to a store,
Perfect.
And yeah, it turns out also to be a great reason to travel. It's like, I don't know. I think we're just going to have to go see what they're doing in the Covent Garden store this week.
I see what you're doing there.
Yeah, exactly. So, we would just hang out around the stores and watch. And it was phenomenal to see the interactions between the specialist and the customers, watch them using the handheld point of sale system. At one point, we were trying to do some role playing to understand some ideas for how we might be able to use technology to assist in the initial intro between a specialist and a user. And so we just did role playing with some of the people working in the stores in New York. And they had like super useful, interesting, relevant experience. So that was a great way to feed the design. In my current role at ThoughtSpot, like I'm not a data analyst, I'm not a business user. So we have to look to outside, we have to try to understand the mindset of those users and then incorporate that into our design. So it is true that Apple didn't do external research. Like I was on the online store for 6 years. We didn't really do any usability studies. We didn't even really do metric stuff. I don't know what they're doing now, but we didn't do it then. But we could do that because we were ourselves users of the product. I don't know how many other places that would work.